guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Well, boys and girls, all the ships at sea, the dogs, the ponies, the cats, and even the unicorns. Gentlemen, I have returned. I safely returned back from the Baker Band BBI break, which was great. Had the largest attendance we've ever had. And fed upwards of 200 people. We had a good time. A lot of people really enjoyed the shootout. Wish more people would have participated, but hey, you know, it's growing. So we'll see what next year brings, especially since there's cash prizes. But this gentleman, this nice young man that I met over there, we're going to call him Mr. D, says, hey man, I'm going to Yellowstone in 2 weeks, and I'd love nothing more to come over and either pick it up on the way through or pick it up on the way back. And I said, well, I don't know. We'll see where you're at in the line. So I come home and I look at it, and sure enough, it's his turn. Now, guys, please note also this week I started a 24 pill, a 16 pill, and a 2x4. The 2x4 and the 16 pill go together, and the 24 pills go into California. Those videos are in progress. So this is currently a repair that I've got to kind of squeeze in on the side. He's going to be here tomorrow to come pick this thing up. But Mr. D, after all of that, I want to say, bud, I've got all your pertinent information folded up out of the way. So like your name and so forth and your phone number. Well, we're going to omit that to protect the innocent and maybe even the guilty. Okay, I've had this Sweet 16 for a while now, but after watching a few of your videos of some 16s that you've worked on, it only makes sense that you do the magic on this one also. Make her a badass mofo, and if all possible, bypass the crap for the fans. I would like them to always be running. Any questions? Well, bud, you get the award for the largest frickin' note that I've ever received, by the way. If there isn't a... I don't know. If I turn this into a competition, I'm going to have people sending me billboard signs. So, needless to say, largest sign yet. I think it's funny and humorous. Now I'm going to take this. We're going to file that out of the way for a moment. So what we have here is a mid-90s build Sweet 16 with some kind of aftermarket weird funky fan kit that's on it. Two little tiny fans. It looks like they're pushing in and exhausting out here. So that means the air is traveling in and then out. And then this fan kit on the bottom, two centrally located fans that are pushing air in here and air in here, leaving a dead zone in the middle, and then exhausting out both ends. All right. Well, we're going to set that down for a minute. I could do that so gingerly because I know what I'm going to do next. Don't stress out. That was intentional. What we have here is a very corroded amplifier. This thing has been wet. Very wet. Green oxidization down here. A couple of these traces are a little questionable if they're even still going to conduct very well. But that's okay. I see potential here. We have the ability to do fun things with this. F it, bucket. No problems. Alright, well, we've got a small hill to climb, but I wonder if we can do it together. First things first, let's do this. Well, The other thing I've done since I've come home from the break is I managed to clean this entire pigsty up. This place is spotless. You can eat off the floors. All my tools are now organized. I threw away a couple truckloads worth of stuff. Here. I'm just going to make this short and sweet. All right. That's the heatsink. It's not teabag. There's parts of a cockroach. It's alright. It's all part of the game. Let the madness begin. So let's start here. This thing has been burned up at some point in the past because this combiner is pretty well chooched. And then they've got a bunch of resistors stacked on it. Not the right value. And we're going to just have to double check some things as we go. This doesn't look all that bad. So let me back this out. Now what I am going to show you is how I go about starting the cleaning process, which isn't all that complicated, by the way, but a lot of people ask me what chemicals I use. Don't be confused. This is a Lysol bottle, and the reason I have this bottle out here is because if you buy a new 409 bottle, they have the shittiest mother effing pump handle thing. Some Chinesium engineer figured out that you can make an integrated hose system. Instead of having a long extension of a hose that goes down here to the bottom, they could just form it into the bottle. And it's got this really shitty head on it. And I'm sorry, I got big manly man hands. Not little mommy shoemaker homemaker hands that I picked this up, and with this bottle being full, if I try to hold it up and squeeze the trigger, the head goes and it just goes bink, comes right off in my hand. So needless to say, the Lysol, which has an old school, as in like every other bottle manufacturer on earth, twist on head with a hose that goes to the bottom of the bottle. My big manly man hands can't seem to damage this. So when we got corrosion, we have to stop the corrosion. And usually the corrosion is started with some kind of alkaloid or acid-based something or other that was intermixed with the water that got in here. And so now we're going to introduce two weak base solutions to it. Windex and 409. You guys would be absolutely amazed what you can clean up with these two bottles, these two solutions intermixed with each other. So now the detail work begins. We just want to give this a nice little light scrubbing. Don't want to get all super violent with it, because you got to remember, some of the legs on some of these components have been corroded. So the whole idea is just to basically get this wet, and we want to get it to where we can just go in here and give this just the lightest little scrub. And the reason we're doing that is we're going to just break it down. We're going to break down whatever corrosion's gone on in here. We're going to work and work it and work it and work it. You do it, you do it, you do it right. All right. We're breaking down the surface tension between the dirt, the corrosion, and whatever chemical has gone on, or chemical reaction that we've had take place on the inside of this. The other thing that happens with electronics is when they get wet, if they're put into operation before they're thoroughly dry, the electrical principles that take place with things, sometimes you can have a corrosion or an oxidization that comes from that, but this is strictly from the amplifier being wet. So just want to give it a little light scrub. Now, we can't stop at this process. Like, I can't just, oh, here, we're going to scrub it down. This is just the beginning. These two light chemicals that we're using, which are basically emulsification, that's all these are. We're trying to attempt to introduce a neutralization that's taking place here. And in the same breath, we're trying not to promote any more corrosion. So Give this a little scrubby scrub dub. And then I'll show you what the next step is. So we're going to look at the top lid and we're going to look at the bottom lid. We're going to look at the oxidization that's gone on with, pardon me, not oxidization, the oxizing effects that have taken place on the top of the cabinet versus the bottom of the cabinet. It's a little dusty, yeah. But if we notice the differentiation in the metals, the black anodized coating that's on the screws versus whatever these zinc-based screws are actually made of, we're having a much stronger reaction on the bottom. So it tells me that this thing, or on the top, this thing was actually sitting upside down when it got wet. And the moisture came up to about yay here. Because you can see the line of corrosion kind of stops right about here. So it's sitting upside down. So a lot of our restoration work is going to have to go into this thing here. Once again, insert, thrust, repeat. Insert, thrust, repeat. Cut about 80% of the rust off of it. Cleaned out all the vent holes. So that's just with Windex and 409. Now, what we're going to do to stop the corrosion is now we've introduced two water-based substances, basically. Is this stuff right here. Armor All Extreme Tire Shine. What this is basically is suspended in, probably some form of methanol or alcohol-based, which I guess would be methanol, some version of wax. Now what we're going to do is we're going to occupy the pores of the metal with a different substance. We're going to snub out all that rust. Might not be able to get the tin back 100, but we're going to take it to about 90-95%. We're going to stop this problem from continuing any further. Now, if you guys didn't notice, sitting here behind this tin is the amp. It's just sitting here with Lysol and 409 soaking. We're going to come back to it in a minute. So what we're doing is basically giving this a very thin wax coat on the inside of the amp. It's going to help protect it from any other moisture, which will stop the reaction with the atmosphere that's causing rust. Okay? Because that's really all rust is. It's the reaction of working with the moisture in the atmosphere plus oxygen. Okay? So first we remove the reactive agents, which are what's causing the rust. Then, by neutralizing the acidic properties that take place with the rust, now we are going to seal the metal as best we can without having to dig into the finish. And this is to help preserve this kit. Now we are going to change this kit because those little fans that were on here, woefully inadequate. Threw that in there for my buddy Steve. Woefully inadequate for this job. The original stock fan kit's way better, but this is what we got, so we're going to work with it. We're going to make the best of what we have, right? Oh, by the way, the new Texas Star fan kits that are kind of knockoffs per se, the tins are still the same. Most of the subparts are the same, but man, the new fans that they put on them things suck. I think I said in a video one time that a warm fart from my dog's ass could move more wind than the fans that they put on these cabinets. All shiny and pretty and clean now. Look at that. Remember, that was bone white when we started. And that was with no harsh chemicals. It was with 409 in the Lysol bottle. And no, you don't have to have your 409 in a Lysol bottle. That's 409. Windex and basic Armor All. This we do not put on electrical components, by the way. Bad idea. Especially anything that's got RF on it. Bad idea. Alright, let's give this one a spit polish. Oh yeah, I gotta throw this in there for disclaimer. Before you go and apply anything like this to any kind of metal surface, after adding two basically water diluted substances to it, which have very discrete forms of alcohol in them to help them flash off a little bit quicker, you have to allow for a large amount of dry time. Okay? Because once you apply this, now you're going to seal, if there is any moisture that's still bonded to the surface of the metal, you're going to seal that moisture down on the metal. So, I mean, there's a reason I keep cutting away on the video, because I don't want to waste everybody's time, but yeah, there's quite a bit of little dry time that went on before I was, you know, scrub, dry, let go. Alright. I think we're going to be able to save most of them traces. Whatever hit this, it sat on this side. It all run down and went, it was sitting on this side because we've got a continuous line of corrosion through here, and then it washed back over the amp. Okay. I'm going to take those in and wash those in a minute. Bring the trash can over here, and let's let all the green juice run out of it. This green juice. Okay, so the next step of this, I got to go outside for it. I'm just going to tell you about it. I'm not going to show it to you. I use an acetone xylene mix, and that's what we're going to clean this, all the soap residues and all the other gunk out of here. I've got to be very sensitive to this relay, these switches, this relay, and the face. If I'm not very careful what I do with the acetone and the xylene mixture, it can start to corrode at the face of the amplifier, and it's going to make the plastics of the relay very soft, and usually it will turn them an opaque white. We want to avoid that. So give me a couple minutes, we shall return. Okay, so we just gave it a quick rinse here. As you can clearly see, we are way, but my hands are all slippery here. Get in there. We are way better off than what we were when we started. Got about 90% of the corrosion out of it. I was most concerned about this trace here, which I feel very comfortable with now. But at this point, I got to let everything very thoroughly dry. If not, I could have some problems. Some values of things could be off. So, we'll come back to this. I've got to let this dry now. But we did go ahead and wash the heat sink, get most of the gross nastiness out of it, and go through. We're going to put a Q-tip or two through the coax connector over here. Both of them. Make sure they're nice and cleaned out, and then we'll go in there. I got a little stainless steel brush that goes up in there, and we can polish these connectors out real good. Make sure we got good conductivity. And then we'll start in with the mods. First thing that we're going to do is we're just going to put very light power to this, and we're going to make sure that all of our transistors are functional, that we have no shorts, no drip solder, like, for instance, this. Hence the reason the combiner burned up. They didn't ever fix the problem. You see that? That's positive, and it's shorted to ground. So we got to give it a little bit to dry, and then we got to come back in and fix some of this stuff, and that's a direct result of that getting too hot and it's shorting out. Hopefully this pill isn't fried. 10 ohmer looks good, but that doesn't mean nothing. So we'll go through and we're going to just just check a couple things before we get too carried away. And then once I can verify that we don't have any transistors we got to replace, we're going to grip it, rip it, gut it, nut it, and we're going to start over. Redo the power system in it, make the fans work the way the guy wants, that kind of thing. So, go back in a few hours. Okay, so this is where we left off last night. It's a whole lot cleaner than what it was. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to tie onto these real quick. And we're going to power this up real fast. I want to go in here and I want to fix this glob of snot that has shorted out the output, which is causing this to burn up. And I just want to quick key it, and I want to watch with the FLIR to see if all of these beautifully matched Toshibas that are in here are all still working. If not, we're going to find out real quick. So, got all the corrosion off here, stopped all the corrosion, sealed the board, and cleaned everything, okay? Got our cabinets all set up. That's where we left off. Sorry, it's in the morning now. I let this sit all night and dry. It's really important. You don't want to go in here and work on this when it's wet. This trace here, I'm probably going to come back and retouch. But I think we're good. This is going to be a pretty quick, easy job. See, none of these, they all look the same, but there's all little differences, right? Like in the older ones, they actually put decent ground wire in here versus the little 22 gauge wire. Now we go talk with the kind engineers over at Texas Star, and they're like, but there's no measurable difference. Okay, we're not going to get into that today. We're not going to have that argument. The other things that concern me are the levels of corrosion that are down inside of these capacitors, that we have to verify that everything is still good with those first. So, corrosion has a tendency to migrate itself in between the plates, and it could wildly fluctuate the capacitance levels of the output capacitors. So, yeah, let's give it a quick test, and then we're going to rip it apart, and we're going to give it all the power wire upgrades. And I got to make sure to clean that up before we go any further. So, on that note, let's plug in the soldering iron and let's start this beautiful day. Alright guys, so what we got here is a 1000 watt slug and peak, 1000 in average, 5 watt slug and reverse. Let me show you what we're going to put into this for drive real quick. Whole lot of nothing, right? Now all we did over here is we cleaned that glob of solder out that was right here, and I want to show you something. Even with too small a power wire, and we're on 11 volts, about 18 watts of drive produces nice solid 600 watts solid. So that tells us that all the transistors are working good. Now what we did do is give it the quick eye over with the FLIR, and the only thing in the whole box that's getting hot is the transistors, which tells us that they're all working. Okay, let's rip it apart and let's start doing all of our power mods and stuff to it. Noise in the background. So, Mr. Daniel has joined us now. Say hi.
Howdy.
So where'd we go to dinner tonight? Japanese place?
Japanese place. It was awesome.
Decent show, wasn't it? Yeah.
Decent, good food, good time.
Yeah. So, we're done. Things all cleaned up, power wire upgrades all done. Replacement output power wire has been done. Fuse wire modification that I do over here has been done. We went ahead and we replaced this combiner. Now, in the previous segment of this video, boys and girls, remember I hit this with about 20 watts worth of peak power, and we were getting about 450, maybe 500 watts, remember? So we have the same setup. Now the only thing that we got in line is the 2-pill, and the 2-pill is off. So let's go over here. We're going to pan in so you guys can actually see the meter and not be squinting and trying to zoom in on YouTuber. Okay. There's all three meters. 1000 in peak, 1000 in average, 5 watt slug in reverse. Okay. 20 whole stinking whopping watts of drive. Now, Mr. D, what does that voltmeter say down there?
14.42 volts.
Okay, that's what this amp's running on, is 14.24 volts. We're going to go ahead and turn on the suite. So we picked up, what, about 150 watts of power just by doing a power wire upgrade. Sweet, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to pan back out. I got to show you guys actually me hitting the switch. Switch on. So now, turn the suite off. We're going to pan back over here again. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We'll zoom on back in. I want to show you how much I'm going to put in this for drive. Right at about 200 watts worth of drive. Now, Mr. D, I've already told you, no more than this, ever.
Never.
Never, ever. Okay. Never, ever will I ever stick it in her stinky pickle ever again.
Never, ever again.
It's like that really gross fat chick in freaking junior high that all the other guys hit, but man, she doesn't know how to wash nothing. You don't ever want to go past that. You're gonna regret the consequences. Like, swear to God, we all knew that one chick. She was a super class hoe. Everybody wanted to hit it, but they were afraid of the consequences. Go past 200 watts worth of drive, what happens?
Boom.
Boof, right, that's right. So you're going to blow up your matched set original 2879 transistors.
Not going there.
Okay, $130 a piece transistors. Okay, no more than 200 watts drive. Unless we convert it to Class C, then we can put more in it, and it'll do a little bit more. All right. Oh, wow, look at that. 600 bird. So we're looking at this meter here, 600 bird, and over here it's just laid in a corner. So we're going to reach in here, we're going to hit our multiplier, and we're going to take it up to 2x. Now guys, girls, all the ships at sea, listen. Pay attention. Can you smell that? No. Well, I was thinking about farting anyhow. Full deflection on this, 2,000 watts. Right here, this hash mark between the 40 and the 60 is what, Mr. D? Right there.
1,000.
1,000. Very good. Okay, so all the way over here is what?
2,000.
Very good. Okay, a little bit of drive. So, we do our math. 1,000, 1,012, 14. So somewhere in between here is about 1,500-ish, right?
Copy that.
Now what I want you to do is look down at the power supply and watch what the power supply is doing down here. What's that dropping to? About 14.3?
14.3 minimum.
Minimum? Alright. So now, let's have a little bit of fun with it. I'm coming your way, bud, so you're going to want to scoot to the side. Move this chair out of the way. Let's put our flukier on her. Let's see what we're actually getting for voltage drop into the box. So you know how we were talking earlier, right? About how you got to have a supercapacitor and the whole goal is to keep the voltage up on stuff?
Yep.
Okay, so the voltmeter down there on the power supply is inside the power supply. Now what does it say on the power supply? 14.42, right?
Correct.
What are we seeing inside of the amp?
14.41.
Okay, so we're losing 1/100th of a volt. Going from the power supply up to the workbench. So now we've seen that sucker drop. It was dropping to 14.3, right? So now we're measuring. Now we're measuring the voltage here at the back of the amplifier where it gets distributed out and it goes to all the different sections of the amplifier. So that's all the different connections. The eyelet at the back of the power supply. The eyelet over here on the workbench to the cables to the inside of the box. Now if we look down here, look at the power supply. 14.41, so it's not dropping, but you still have line loss. That's why your connections and your terminals and your power wire going from your battery, your alternator, and so forth have to be bigger to help carry the DC current. So we're dropping to 13.9. So reach down here with the knob. We'll come up to 15.3. Now what do you think that's going to drop to?
About 15.
Probably
14,
around
14.8.
14.5. Here's your full 1600 watts. Okay. So now, last unit of measure that we're going to try to show to everybody. Let's look at our average number. About 700 watts, right? Now this is the plain Jane, everybody uses me every day. Not hopped up, not zipped up, not freaking just a straight radio. This is what the average guy would see for performance out of this thing, Mr. D. Is roughly about 750 watts average. There's a lot of guys going back longer than I've been alive that can attest that's what this box will do. So now we're going to put the hot rod radio on there, the good old derail radio. Not very many people get to watch me do this live in person, by the way. You consider yourself lucky. And then what did we do before this? I had you pop your cherry. How much were you keying? 30,000 bird. Yeah. How far did I take the needle? 50,000 bird dead key. I can do it all day long. It's fun, isn't it? Okay.
I'm honored.
Here's the derail radio. Now, what this is going to do is going to drive our average numbers way up. And we're going to see our voltmeter dip again at the power supply, right here. 14.4. Picked up another 200 watts in average power by going to the derail radio, which does the same exact amount of output as the 2950. So still 1600 watts, give or take. And really, depending on what you want to do with the supercapacitor is going to dictate if you do 1600 or 1800 or 2000. It's all about the charge system from this point forward. So it's all cleaned up. You got lucky. There was just some bad solder splooge in there. Somebody went in there and flicked a chicken booger on the inside of the thing. So what's the last step of the equation? What are we going to work on next?
The fans?
Got it. Good man. Didn't even have to do hand gestures off screen. And yeah, we weren't talking about the dirty ones. Okay. And by the way, it's one for the pink, two for the stink. Okay. Now, like I was telling you, the beginning portion of this video was us cleaning this cabinet up, which was a solid green rusted bastard. This is the same cabinet from yesterday, you guys. But this is after everything's dried and all the polish and stuff has been done to it. Now I went to try out the fans that were on this thing, you guys, and they were completely rusted stop. So I put two brand new fans on this thing. Brand new. This is the one that sits on the top side. Now on the bottom side, the one that we actually have to have do work, I went ahead and I punched the cabinet out, or the tins out, and we went ahead and upgraded to a 120 millimeter fan versus the 60 millimeters that were on there. So almost 4 times the amount of air is going to go across the heatsink. Now, Mr. D, it's up to you, buddy, to do one thing and one thing only for me.
What's that there, Mr. BBI?
Very good. Very good talk show voice. You got to build a little stand so that this thing sits up off.
Definitely.
Okay, so it gets good airflow in underneath, and it's got open space in the front behind it to let the hot air out. Okay, well, as you can see, I've got loose little pigtails. So we're all cleaned up. We've seen the amp work. When we come back, we'll have the tins on it, and we'll do the wrap for this thing. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
Cool. Want to take any pictures of this before we cover it up? No? You better. Go get your phone. It's quiet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, you could just build like a side bracket and lay it up on its side like that. Because there's no vents down this side of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Well, buddy, you're done.
Awesome. Thanks a lot there, BBI.
No problem. Well, gentlemen, that's it. Another Sweet 16 back out, sent out into the universe working with all the upgrades, and it's all pretty and everything else. So, guys, look, I'm not currently taking on any more new work. I've got, as Mr. D can do attest to, what do I got, about 600-700 amplifiers in here right now? Easily. So, I'm just, I got to take a pause for a couple months and see how I can get caught up. I've got 3 new builds in production right now. A 24 pill and a 16 pill and a 2x4 and a 2x6. I forgot about the 2x6. So they're all going to be coming out here sometime this next week. but I needed to get Mr. D done. So on that note, gentlemen, I'm going to run. And you said you had one more. Dave made what?
2x8.
I guess I'm going to go work on a 2x8 now. So on that note, questions, comments, or you need my help for anything, call this number right here. I'll see you guys. Bump bump from the biggest mud duck in Idaho.